Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first ever virtual Coffee with Council. I'm Mayor Pro Tem Aaron Rodriguez, and joining me this morning is Councilmember Marcia Martin. We also have some staff members available should we have any questions for them as well. Just to remind folks how to join, you will need to call in this toll-free number, 1-888-788-0099. You enter the meeting ID 830-4541-4207. For participant ID, press pound. We'll give you a few minutes to join us, and then we'll start taking questions.
Aaron, would you repeat the greeting? Looks like our stream didn't start right at that time. So the slide is up. Let's do that again.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the first virtual Coffee with Council. The screen is up. It gives you the phone number and the meeting ID and instructions on how to call in and ask questions this morning. And we will wait a few minutes for you to call in, and then we'll start taking your questions. Thank you.
Good morning, folks. This is our Coffee with Council. This is our first virtual meeting, doing it this way, and so we're welcoming callers to call in now. If you jot down the number, we will allow people to join the meeting throughout this call. The call will be ending at 10 a.m. So if you would like to speak with council, this is your opportunity. You've got Councilmember Martin and Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez here. The toll-free number is 1-888-788-0099. Again, that toll-free number is 1-888-788-0099. You will enter the meeting ID 830-4541-4207. Again, that number is 830-4541-4207. And when it prompts you for a participant ID, press pound. Once you come into the meeting, please do mute your live stream or we will get an echo.
Hey, Susan, do we have someone in the waiting room?
We do. We're just going to give some folks a little extra time to call in and then we'll get started. We have one person so far. And we just welcomed our second guest. So if you're in the process of calling in, you can write this number down. The meeting will not be locked during this time. We'll lock it about 9:45 so that we can make sure that we get to everybody before 10 o'clock. All right, so I'm going to drop the screen and then wait for our live stream to catch up. So for those callers who are in the call right now, please make sure that you do mute the live stream. All right. And Mayor Pro Tem, are you ready to begin?
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to ask the first caller, your phone number ends in 427. I'm going to ask you to unmute 427. There you are.
Good morning. This is Dawn Quintana, just calling to make sure things worked.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have fun. Bye.
Bye.
All right, our next caller is 597. 597, I'm going to ask you to unmute. You can also hit *6 on your phone. *597. Those are the last 3 digits of your phone number. Are you able to unmute? Try hitting *6 on your telephone. Well, Mayor Pro Tem, looks like this caller is having a little difficulty unmuting, and that's our only caller at the moment. Shall we put the sign back up and see if we have anyone else that would like to join us?
Yeah, let's go fishing. Let's see what we catch.
Sure. Maybe the person who's having trouble could then try again.
Try again. Yep.
All right, very well. All right, folks, so we've got the slide up again with instructions on how to join this Coffee with Council. These meetings give our folks an opportunity to speak directly with council once a month. They are held typically on the last Saturday. I know some months are not necessarily on the last Saturday, so please visit our website, longmontcolorado.gov, for details. So we're going to leave this slide up here for a little bit, see if anyone else is interested in joining the conversation this morning. All right, folks, I'm just going to drop that slide. Let's see if we can reconnect with our other caller. Caller 597. I'm going to ask you to unmute one more time. Are you there? Five nine seven. Five nine seven. Can you hit *6 on your phone? If you can hear us and you're not wanting to chat with council, then feel free to go ahead and hang up. This way we're not continuing to ask you to unmute. I will put the slide back up again for a few more minutes. So again, these meetings happen once a month. We have different council members that participate, and there's usually a few city staff that also participate, just in case there's a question for them. So if you're out there and you're watching us today, feel free to give us a call. You can call in right now. We're not going to lock the meeting, so this number will be valid here as long as we are live. The toll-free number is 1-888-788-0099. Enter the meeting ID 830-4541-4207. Press the pound key when it prompts you for a participant ID. You will then enter into what we call the waiting room. You won't see or hear anything. And then we will allow you into the meeting. And as a reminder, these are streamed through Longmont Public Media so that you can also watch the live stream on Comcast Channel 8 and 880. They also have it up on their Facebook website and YouTube channel for Longmont Public Media. So it looks like we do have a couple of more guests that have entered. I'll give everyone just another minute. All right, I'll go ahead and drop the screen. And we'll take a new caller here that's entered. Caller 131. I'm going to ask you to unmute. Caller 131. There you are. Can you hear us?
Yes, yes.
Make
My
sure.
name is.
Yes, just make sure you've got the live stream muted or you'll hear yourself as an echo.
Got it. Okay. My name's Susan. This is my very first time calling in, and I really just wanted to listen and see what this was all about. But since there's a bit of a quiet period here, I'm going to ask, what are the questions that you get most often?
It's been a while, Susan, but usually I'd say the number one is changes that are happening in your neighborhood. For example, a new building permit being considered, and people have concerns about how that might affect their quality of life is a big one. What else, Aaron?
I would say a lot of folks generally ask what they need to do to be involved in a process concerning something like what Councilmember Martin just said, as far as, they've come across something that's changing in their neighborhood and they want to figure out how they can provide input. So I tend to answer a lot of questions like that related. And then I think, we do tend to get a lot of questions that are raised by newspaper articles. At least I feel that drives more questions based on what the newspaper decides to cover than compared to what's on our agenda necessarily. Because sometimes I really wonder, there's items on our agenda that we'll end up talking for 2+ hours about that gets no coverage. And there's something that we just vote on unanimously and that gets all the newspaper coverage. So I feel that a lot of times we answer questions that are driven by the media. So.
Susan, do you have any other questions for council?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice
All right.
talking to you, Susan.
All right, we'll try our next caller, 733. Your phone number ends in 733. There you are. Can you hear us?
Hi, yes, I can hear you. Hi, this is Ashley, and I'm executive director with Colorado Normal, and I just wanted to bring it to council's attention that the cannabis consumers of Longmont would like to implement recreational delivery, and was hoping that maybe we could bring this as an agenda item up to council here soon.
Is that allowed statutorily at this time? I thought there was a lag time between the medical delivery and the recreational delivery by state statute.
There was 1 year, and this year is when recreational could be implemented. Last year was for medical, and we saw that Aurora just recently put in some ordinances to allow for recreational delivery. On top of that, I would mention that the number one priority for the governor this year would be to include social equity into these spaces in the cannabis industry, since they've been disproportionately harmed by the war on drugs. So I would, as part of the agenda, I would like to just maybe bring in some stakeholders in part of discussing the one-to-one delivery system, including social equity.
Go ahead, Marcia.
So the first thing is that you don't have to wait for it to be on the council agenda. You can bring a group of people to public invited to be heard at any time, because the public can always speak on any topic at all. So on terms of getting this on the agenda, what I would like to do is take it to the city attorney's office in advance of proposing it, just because at the time, right at this time, we're trying to be respectful of the work burden that the pandemic has caused the city staff. So we try not to put big surprises on the agenda early. It would be beneficial, and I know you do contact us pretty often, Ashley, but it's Ashley, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But putting this specific request in a communication to the council and maybe including the city attorney's office would be the best way to expedite. But I will definitely bring that to the city attorney and see at what point it would be reasonable to get it on the agenda.
Okay, great. I will.
Go ahead,
Oh,
Ashley.
go ahead.
No,
I was
Ashley,
just going to
please.
say I'll follow up with an email in regards to this topic and how it would help Longmont, and Boulder County is actually going to be having a meeting about this on February 1st, and the 3 Boulder County commissioners need to implement this as well to have the Longmont dispensaries that are, I guess, located in the unincorporated area to be able to be to deliver as well.
And so my question, this might be for staff actually, is after we allowed for medical delivery, how many of our dispensaries use that option, and including the enclave ones, or if
There's
anybody?
there's one here in Longmont that could be used for medical, so that's why I'm trying to bring this topic up and discuss how we could create more of a delivery here in Longmont, and that would need to be opened up for recreational.
I'm not sure where it'll fit in our agenda, but you know, I'm not necessarily privy to the upcoming agendas. The mayor and the city manager are the ones who generally dictate that. But I'd be open to looking at how this program, you know, would be run, and partially also seeing how, if other, you said Aurora is just allowing it now, correct?
Aurora did. They voted on it in December and just opened it up last weekend in January, and Denver's actually going to be voting on it. Their second draft will be put out next week.
Yeah, and you know, obviously we're gonna want to gather input from our local businesses as well as public safety. It'll probably be very similar to what we heard concerning the medical delivery, is my guess, but I think that's all part of that conversation. And again, I'm open to it, but I'm one of 7, so.
And so we can
Okay.
see Mr. Dominguez here, so you might want to hang on, because if you can see him, it usually means he's got something to say. No?
All right.
And I was
you.
just gonna, I was just gonna answer Aaron's question, and I'm not sure, and we can get with Dawn and find out who's actually doing it, and then we'll get that information to council. And then the other question, there was the year waiting period. In January of 21, it was allowed
Okay.
recreational, and so I think Aurora is obviously the first, Denver second, and others may start moving forward.
Harold, I was just going to mention that I'll go ahead and put this in the notes for Dawn to consider from the clerk's office as well. So in addition to legal, I'll make sure that the marijuana authority knows that this request came up today.
Well, thank
Thank
you,
you
Ashley,
very
and you've definitely put it on the radar, at least, if not on the agenda. So that's a good first step. Well, thank you.
I will be following up with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashley.
And Ashley, if you're still listening, if you can also include Don Quintana on your email, that would be great. The city clerk's office.
Yes. You would like me to include him, or you would like my email?
Her.
DAW.
Just include her in your email to council, because she's in the marijuana authority world.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
Susan, is there anyone else in the queue?
I was just going to say 597. We can give that a try again. 597. I'm going to ask you to unmute. And if you've written down the number, the meeting is unlocked. You should be able to join us at any time. I understand there's some folks that are watching on Longmont Public Media's Facebook page or website, or perhaps through Comcast. So give us a call. 597, are you there? Can you unmute? "597." They may not want to engage. They may just want to call in to hear what's going on. So we'll just leave them be at this point. I will put the slide back up here so that in case anyone else is wanting to join. And the previous caller, if you have another question, you can raise your hand, or you can go ahead and hang up as well, whatever you desire. So let me put that call-in number up once more.
How do you raise your hand on the phone? Is it star
Star,
something?
star 9.
I'm going to refill my water glass while the sign is up, but I'm within earshot the whole time.
Sounds good, thanks.
We should have had some prepared topics so that if people were wanting to watch but don't have a question, they'd at least have something interesting to listen to. City Manager Dominguez, have you got any interesting topics you'd like to talk about?
Well, we have a lot of topics. I'm not sure that they're interesting to everyone.
I do have one.
Okay.
It's kind of more of a question, and maybe what you've heard about it, but with Denver also getting the 5-star program approved, as well as Boulder County yesterday, that seems, who are they county inspectors? Because it seems that'd be a lot of workload for the state.
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question about 5-star. And so I can sort of give some broad information and then get to your question. So one of the things when CDPHE actually authorized the 5-star program, they didn't want to place the burden on the county health departments. And so they created a function where there's an administrative team of which they sit on and they help advise. But in the case of Boulder County, how this is working, the Longmont Economic Development Partnership and the Boulder Chamber actually are taking the leadership roles in this. And so they've been putting together the application in conjunction with Boulder County, and because it has to be a Boulder County application. And so they'll be administering it. And in terms of the different roles, so there's 3 to 4 different roles that people will play. There will be the group that takes in the applications and processes them. There will be a group that meets with the facilities and talks about what they need to do. And then there's a group of inspectors that come in and a process for complaints. In this case, hold on a second. My morning allergy, sorry. And so what ends up happening is they're asking for volunteers to get trained. And so we have some folks in the city, just based on some of the rules associated with COVID, that we can repurpose. And so Joni's working with them, and we're going to get them trained. And so they'll fill some of the positions. There's private businesses that are repurposing some of their people to be part of this and volunteer their time from their company to be part of this inspection process. And the way it's approved here is H2 is the one that has developed this system. And H2 is a local Longmont company. And they'd been doing this for a while, actually, early on, to get businesses trained so they could have safe operations. And so they have a pretty regimented system, and there's data behind how well it works. And so, and Denver's using the same company. And so we will bring folks in, volunteers, people that are repurposed in various organizations, to get trained in the various components. And then as applications start coming in, they'll go out and do the work. And so that's the point of, yeah, it would be a lot of work for anyone, but it's everyone coming together to fill some of these positions.
Susan, it looks like 597 is trying again.
Yes, I saw that. Just waiting for a moment to reach out to them. Let me know if you're ready.
I think we are.
Might as well.
All right. 597, let's go ahead and see if you can unmute. 597, I'm asking you to unmute. There you are.
Hello, this is my name is Betty. This is my first time doing this, and I've been doing Zoom and other kind of stuff, but this is different. And the only reason I called the number is because I wasn't able to get in any other way. But I do have a question. I'm in an area of Longmont. It's called Westbrook Village off Airport, and I have Verizon, and my cell phone reception is awful. Sometimes I even lose connection with my landline. And I was wondering if anybody is the city or anybody planning to do anything about cell phone reception in certain areas.
City Manager Dominguez, I don't know what jurisdiction or influence the municipality has on that. Do you?
Yeah, so we really don't have a lot. We don't have a lot of impact. We don't impact those decisions. Those are decisions made by the various cell phone companies. I know that in terms of our cell service and what we can commute, we can communicate where we see dead spots and where it's problematic for our operations. I know that many of these companies are also considering the small cell sites. They're really focusing on larger metropolitan areas right now. I mean, you'll see those in downtown Denver, but we know that they are looking at Longmont for some of these small cell sites so they can start closing that gap in cell service around the community. But that really is a decision by each one of these providers in terms of how they implement that program.
Thank you.
Hey, have you tried going to your cellular provider and registering feedback with them? I would consider either the website for your provider, or if they have a store or outlet in Longmont, go there.
Yes, I've done that, and I was told that I was considering. I was considering other providers, and I was told that in this area probably have the same problem. But I'll go back and do it again.
Never hurts.
And sometimes they do.
It's a really bad area because we've had to change our provider twice. One time a tree grew up which blocked everything, and I can't remember why we changed it the time before that. But it's and I was told that some cell towers were taken down for Verizon, so that has a lot to do with the problem over here. Sometimes the television even goes out.
The television's interesting. What area of Longmont do you live in?
I live in Westbrook Village, which is between it's off Airport, between Clover Basin and Nelson Road, close to the airport.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that there's been some. I know from our work that there's some cell gaps there. Again, I would go to the company. I know that there are some. They have been talking to our staff about some small sites, and hopefully we can get some more information on that. But definitely, as a council member suggested, reach out to your company. I'm not aware of any cell sites that have been taken down, but we'll see what we can find out.
Just as a tip for outgoing calls and for friends that talk to you a lot, I have been having really good success using voice over IP, which a lot of different applications are using now. Even Facebook messaging has voice over IP. So if you're having a really bad cellular day and you need to make a call, it might be a good idea to learn how to use that so you can use it in a pinch.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And we have another caller.
And a plug for Nextlight. If you have Nextlight, voice over IP works really well.
It does.
All right, caller 597, thanks. I will mute you. If you have another question, you can hit *9, or you can go ahead and leave the meeting when you're ready. The next caller we have is, your phone number ends in 842. I'm going to ask you to unmute. 842. Are you there? Make sure you mute the live stream, because our live stream's about 20 seconds. If you're watching our YouTube stream, I cannot say how long the delay is on Longmont Public Media's versions of our stream, but I know the city stream is about 20 seconds in a delay. So my instructions to you will probably be hitting your ear here shortly. So caller 842. Are you there, 842? I'm asking you to unmute. Hit *6. Sometimes that helps on a phone. There you go. Are you there?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm here. Are you there?
Yes, we are. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Well, I'm sorry. I was switching from my MacBook Pro to my phone for the caller that was talking about the cell service in the city. So this may have already been answered, but I spent a lot of time with my cell provider, who is AT&T, and I can tell you that Longmont is probably the last city in the metro area that the cell providers care about, and it's been that way for years. So, for example, for 5G service, we're not going to see 5G service for years in Longmont because we just don't have the quantity of people that Denver has. So their capital expenditures are going to be focused on first Denver, and then after that, a year or two will be Boulder, and a year or two after that will be Longmont. So unless something drastic changes, and you can see their capital expenditures and their plans when they give their quarterly updates for the stock market. But what I've done for myself, and this may have been something that someone brought up, is Wi-Fi calling within the house. And Wi-Fi calling solved the problem of AT&T and Verizon and T-Mobile. I don't have any problems. I only have a cell phone. I spent a lot of time at Sandstone Ranch. The cell service out there is horrible. When I need to contact public safety through dispatch, I know the places that I can go at Sandstone Ranch and be successful with my call. And there aren't a lot of them out there. And a lot of times the calls get dropped. You can see that downtown in Longmont, where you can go into a business like on 6th and Main, where I go into my dentist and I can't get service at all. So we're going to experience that. And that's just the way that the cell service is in Longmont, and all the providers provide Wi-Fi calling. And if you have a smartphone, you can set up Wi-Fi calling, and it will do the same thing as your cell system, and your bills will show that you're using Wi-Fi calling. So that's an option that everyone should understand how to use and should do it. If they don't have a router in their house, that's going to be a problem if they're trying to use their cell phones. So that's how I've gotten around the problem. And for 5G, you're hearing that T-Mobile is saying we have 5G everywhere. They have 5G that is really equivalent to LTE. If you want 5G service, you want Verizon. And I say that even though I'm an AT&T customer, and that's because Verizon's system will give you almost a gigabit up and down on your cell phone if it's 5G capable, if they have 5G service in your area. So I just wanted to make sure that the caller who called in with cell phone problems understood that it's not going to get better anytime soon. And if you can switch to Wi-Fi calling, it's great. It works perfectly. I've used it for years. And that's the end of my story.
Thanks very much.
All right. We did have someone send in a question. This individual was watching through a Facebook live stream on Longmont Public Media, and they indicated that they could not get through. So we captured their question. Their question is, I would like to know what is being done about the vagrants running around the city. 4 out of 7 nights this week, they have tried to get into cars and are POD. P-O-D. They dump trash behind the buildings. It's ridiculous. The police are too busy to do extra patrols. They come by when they can, but that's once a week, twice at best. This morning was another trying to get in to the pod, even bought a toolkit. Something needs to be done.
Well, I think that is $1 million question that a lot of municipalities are trying to answer. And I think in my personal opinion, it's a holistic approach that combines a lot of different of aspects, such as one aspect that's dealing with trying to help folks that are dealing with homelessness, that are not necessarily the lawless vagrants that you described per se, but are really down on their luck and needing some help. And then also providing social services to those folks that have drug and alcohol problems that might contribute to maybe some delinquency, and being able to provide that kind of help for folks too, as the police are using some different programs to try to address those issues when they come across folks experiencing either mental issues or substance abuse issues, along with homelessness. I don't think there's a silver bullet to solve this problem. And unfortunately, as we see, ebbs and flows in the economy, we also see ebbs and flows in the amount of people that are displaced and fall on hard times. So I think as long as the city continues to approach it from as holistic as a manner as possible, I think we're approaching it in the right way, as well as being data driven about exactly what our populations are. And there probably is a capacity issue for public safety when it comes to these kinds of things. They can't be everywhere at all times. But I know they're doing the best they can, and with the, I guess, the kind of available resources that they have, and it's pretty good amount of resources considering that just a few years ago the residents of Longmont voted for a portion of sales tax to go to public safety, a bit of a sales tax increase, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think as long as we keep focusing on all these things, hopefully kind of equally and on level footing, it will help the issue. I don't think we'll be able to truly stamp out the issue altogether. I mean, I just don't think that's feasible. But Councilmember Martin, your thoughts?
Yeah, a couple more. First of all, it's not illegal to be homeless. And so we can't simply run people out of town. So the best we can do is try to create an environment to when people fall out of conventional living with a rental or a home, our first line of defense is to have resources to keep that from happening to people, some supplemental income to try to tide people over to the next month or something, and keep them from running into eviction territory. We do have pretty comprehensive services for people who are dealing with substance abuse problems. If you go into the public safety center in Longmont at 3rd and Kimbark, and say, I need help with substance abuse, you won't be arrested on the spot or anything like that. You will be enrolled in a substance abuse program. Now, it doesn't give you a get out of jail free card if you go out and subsequently commit a crime, but you have nothing to fear if you walk in and ask for help. So, those are some of our first lines of defense. We have Hope, the Hour Center, some transitional housing organizations that are all providing solutions for people who are experiencing homelessness. We do our best to see that they are not driven to needing to commit a crime in order to survive. But right now, that's the story. We do have people experiencing homelessness, and if they are on the streets at night, then the kind of thing that you're experiencing can happen. Also, they don't necessarily have to be homeless to be doing what you describe. Although breaking into a pod maybe sounds like somebody who's looking for ad hoc shelter.
Yeah, I do want to echo Councilmember Martin that I'm sure that there is probably a large number of these break-ins and robberies that are by folks that actually are not homeless whatsoever. They are opportunistic thieves, most likely. And at, kind of where we are at this time, I think we're seeing a little bit more of a rise in some of these kinds of petty crimes just due to the, I guess, environment that we're in at the moment. But that's completely anecdotal. I've not gotten any numbers on that. So.
And Council, I'm just going to ask the callers if they have any other comments to go ahead and hit *9. We've got
lock the meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 9:48 right now. So if you've got that call-in information to call in now, and for our existing callers on the line, hit *9 so I know that you would like to ask another question. *9 raises your virtual hand for me, and then I can unmute you again. So let me just share that screen one last quick time. It's 9:48. We do have a hard stop this morning at 10 o'clock. So if you are trying to reach us, now would be a good time to call in, and we can take your call before 10 o'clock, hopefully get your questions answered. And so it looks like our existing caller does have another question. I'm going to ask you to unmute. Go ahead and state your question. 597.
Hello, this is Betty again. I'm a missionary, and I've gone to different states and looked at the way that they handle homelessness. And in Mississippi, what they're doing is opening up abandoned buildings. And I went to a school that they had opened up for homeless people. They had the right staff and all that there. And I was just wondering, I know that in Longmont we have tiny homes, tiny houses. And I was just wondering if there's any way that abandoned buildings can be opened up. Maybe they had a school, city buildings that are abandoned or anything like that to help the homeless situation. But I know that some people, in me talking to people on the street, I know some people are out on the street because they want to be on the street. Some are mentally ill and wouldn't stay anywhere, or wouldn't follow the rules to stay anywhere anyway. But I was just wondering if other options are being considered for homelessness.
Betty, the first thing you should know, in case you don't, is that we do have shelters run by the Hope nonprofit that are using church space to accommodate the homeless. And also we have now, I believe, 3, or starting Monday, 3 safe lots, which are people who have cars but not rooms can park their cars in a place that's patrolled, that has at least minimal services, so that they're safe, as opposed to just be parking and sleeping in your car in some random place. So I don't think that we have any plans to use abandoned buildings, and I think there are probably some code compliance issues with that sort of thing. Maybe Harold, you can elaborate on that better than I could, or perhaps Aaron could elaborate on it better than I can.
As far as the code, I can't sit here and quote the code on that necessarily, but I will say that another challenge that we have being here in Boulder County, as well as generally the Front Range, is that the price of property here is pretty high, as I think folks know, and that's the struggle with affordable housing that we have. So even though you might see a vacant building, it's not necessarily abandoned. Many of the owners of said buildings, I'm sure, are banking on the fact that the economy, which isn't as bad as some might think during the pandemic, is going to obviously improve. And we're not seeing any diminishment of property values due to the current economic state, at least in my experience as a real estate appraiser. We're seeing stability, if not increases still, because nobody's moving. So there's no houses for sale. And really, most of the vacant buildings you see are generally retail or restaurant, and not necessarily abandoned, just currently vacant. And I could understand in a place that might not have the same kind of desirability from a real estate perspective that there could be some abandoned buildings. I'm pretty sure the city doesn't have any in our sheets that we could use, and obviously, and also the school district is a separate entity from the city, and so I think we'd have a problem finding any buildings that would come at a reasonable price tag to accommodate such a facility anyway. But I'm sure there are some codes that we would have to look at. As far as the tiny homes, it's just the ability to, again, have land and be able to build them. Now that we do have at least some sort of carve out for that based on the Veterans Village that is under construction. So, further thoughts from the city manager on this?
No, I think you hit all of it. In terms of inventory, we don't have the inventory. A lot of the school inventory, they actually repurpose them for charter schools. And so you'll see, and they really haven't closed. I mean, they've closed a few schools here. They've just repurposed for another education component. And then what we do see vacant in our community tends to be retail restaurant space, some industrial space. But again, that's under private ownership. And to your point about the values and working, they're constantly looking at getting other companies in that. So that becomes an issue that's in play. And then you do have different code issues because you also don't want people staying in a place that's also not appropriate. And I know there's been some locations where they've discussed it where either from a land development code perspective or a building code, it couldn't be utilized for certain purposes. What I did want to add is some of the work. So we talked to council the other day where we pulled in $500,000 housing that we've been able to get based on the different federal funding sources related to the pandemic and really moving forward in that. Our police department does have the lead and co-responder program where we try to work with individuals. We also participate in the coordinated entry. And so there will be another outreach team in some of the grant funds that we received working in the community to connect people to resources. And then with the work that we've done recently in taking on the housing authority and really how do we leverage all of those resources, whether it be HCV on the Housing Choice Voucher Program, or whether or not we have space available in some of our facilities. And as you two know, you've directed us to really work to create more affordable housing opportunities for the community. We're getting ready to submit another project near the suites for supportive housing. We're working on that right now. And then we just recently acquired 9 acres for affordable housing associated with the Costco project. So those are all things we're trying to do. It's not here, but we have a lot of different folks reaching out and trying to tackle these problems.
Betty, you have another question?
Yes, I was just going to prompt her. I'm going to ask you 597 to go ahead and unmute. There you are.
Yeah, yes, I just wanted to make a comment. I know there are lots of problems, but I think it would be a good idea to reach out to Mississippi, and I can get the name of the city for you and find out how they were able to access these buildings. And I would also like to make the comment that I've been working with homeless people for about 20 something years in Longmont and different areas. And I have heard from homeless people and other people that in spite of all the problems that we have here in Longmont, that Longmont is a haven for homeless people. And I just wanted to let you know that.
We've heard that too.
Good.
And Betty, you seem to have a lot of information to offer, and I don't know whether you have services to offer, because we do accept volunteer services under certain circumstances. But please just.
I volunteer with Agape, and I volunteer with quite a few organizations and lead homeless people to places to stay and even individual homes and stuff.
Yeah, I've done that, but I'm too chicken to do it during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So after I get vaccinated, which is supposed to be next month, then I may be opening my house up again. But anyway, on longmontcolorado.gov, there is a council contact form. So I would encourage you to please write to us, tell us about yourself, and we're eager to hear your suggestions, which are speaking from experience.
Okay, give me that again. Let me write it down so I won't forget it.
Sure. It's just like it sounds, longmontcolorado.gov, no extra punctuation. It's just our city's name.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure. Nice talking to you, Betty. It's been great. And I think we're about at the end here.
Yeah.
So
We are. I thought I would just display our last slide, which indicates how you can join us next month. There will be 2 different council members joining us, but we will be back on YouTube Live and through Longmont Public Media to take your questions between 9 and 10 a.m. Again, it's usually the last Saturday of every month. However, check our website for the exact calendar, as I know some Saturdays during some months, it's the 3rd Saturday. So again, visit longmontcolorado.gov, check our schedule, or follow us on our YouTube channel. So thank you to everyone who's called in. You are free to hang up. We will be ending this here shortly. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Carol, Sandy, and Susan, thanks.